Okay, what to do with our washes now that we've finished them? Well, for the first one, that was the ultramarine. So I'm going back to my flat brush. I've got some ultramarine on it. You don't really need to do a huge amount on this, but if I go very lightly and pull it along the bottom there, straight away I'm getting the impression of water. The important thing with water is to keep your strokes nice and horizontal. With the flat brush, clean it. You can wipe it slightly, not wring it, wipe it, and you can go back in and just lift out some little light areas on the water. Again, try and keep your strokes horizontal. Easiest way to work that out is to keep looking at the top or the bottom of your paper and keep your brush aligned with it. I can create the impression that there's a lot of light coming across from there. And where I've got that light, all I'm doing is just touching into the paint, not too strongly, but where I've got that light, I can just go underneath it, put in a few darker strokes. Just leaving a little trace of paint behind. And I'm going to go back in with a slightly damp, clean brush and just soften each one of those little lines. And that's creating the shadow underneath the light on the water for you. So, there's nothing there that you can't do as a complete beginner. And you can get quite nice effects. Voila. This one, well, I'm going to swap back over to my round brush, which is the one that I used to actually paint it in. I'm going to go straight back into my yellow ochre. And I'm just going to, again, just under that area, just put myself a nice straight line. Now I'm going to knock most of the paint off that and just drag it across the paper. I'm not touching every part, I'm not intending to. So now I'm picking up some of the mixed cadmium. Again, I'm going to wipe the bulk off. I'm not squeezing, I'm just touching it onto the paper. I'm going to do the same, just pull this through from that side and then from this side. Again, I'm keeping my strokes as horizontal as I can. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of the ultramarine blue. I haven't washed my brush, I don't need to. I've gone from light to dark. Now I've got my ultramarine blue, same thing. Just pulling it through, letting these colours all blend. And all I'm going to do down here with a much thicker mix, I'm going to create the impression, and I'm using Payne's grey and ultramarine together with a little tiny bit of burnt umber. And all I'm doing down here is I'm going to put in, and it might run, this is still quite wet. If you were doing this at home, I'd recommend you let it dry. So I'm just going to create little bit of land on the edge. Take off my excess water and just pull out a few little reeds. Because mine is very wet, this is still going to bleed a little bit. But you can go back to a completely flat brush and pull a few of these taller. Back in with more of the Paynes grey. And try and get them going in various directions, not just in one. And if you're using thicker paint over thinner paint, it doesn't run as much. So thicken it up as you go along. And just by doing that, it now looks as though I've got lots of foliage there in a couple of seconds. So I'll pull some of these taller still. A couple of little bobble dots on them. Not too many. Split that one. Thicken it up underneath or darken it underneath, and I'm just using the edge of the brush to do that. So it just creates the look of more substance undergrowth. And if you've got something that's very much in silhouette, which this would be because you've got all the bright light coming from there, then it tends to look very dark against whatever's in the foreground. You can put as few or as many as you like in. Darken it up. And then you can just use the edge of your brush. Scrape a few little marks through. You could even use some tissue if you want to get a little bit of light on the edges there. And there you go, something to do with your picture. On this one, well, I'm just going back to the colour that I had used originally. We're going to create a bit of a hill range there. Keep it nice and flat along that bottom edge. And to take these off up into the clouds. Damp brush, just touch back into there. With this one, I'm going to have some light along this edge so that it pulls it forward from the one behind. And I'm just using the brush just to give some little shapes into the hillside. Left it quite dark along the bottom. I'm leaving a small slither of white or light paper. Do the same with that one. So it's got the light area along the bottom. And then I'm just going to use the side of the brush and pull across. And because I'm holding the brush the way that I am, the heel of the brush is hitting the paper and creating these little touch points all the way across. Reload the brush, take the excess off, and you can layer this as many times as you want or you need to get to the effect that you like. Again, I can come back in and lift out some lights if I want. Don't be afraid to experiment. You can wet it and lift it out with some tissue. You can swap brushes, go back to a flat and lift out with the edge of the brush. All depends on what you want. For this, it's just a use for your pictures. So you've got 3 washes, 3 pictures. Thank you. Have a nice day now. Bye.